in a series get clinched that early.
No, not at all. And it just kind of comes down to those two putting together and their teams. Just two great years. You know, it's the same year, but both those guys and their teams have, you know, I think when you really look at it, when you go back and you go through the year and you look at those two guys, eliminating mistakes. They don't have any race where they gave up a ton of points.
Yep.
You know, some races they were off a little bit, off pace. You know, fourth was the best they could do, or second or third. They took it. They didn't throw it down the road, and then they just kept calculating. And don't get me wrong, they won a lot of races, but them and their teams didn't make a lot of mistakes either.
Well, that's the thing, is you got to get points when you don't have a winning bike. Get what you can. We just saw Jake Gagne putting that ice vest on. That shows you how warm it is out there. Richie Escalante, great opportunity here to get that first ever Superbike podium. Front row qualifying effort. Just needs to get those start issues dialed up, and it's going to be fascinating to see. Obviously, Matthew Scholz, who was so impressive here last year, really struggling a bit. And Stefano Mesa in his debut, qualifying in the top 10. What will we see from him? And can Bobby Fong rebound from mechanical issues early on? Well, those questions are about to be answered because the Medallia Superbike field is ready, and that means next door, Greg White, Jason Pridmore are ready as well.
One thing to race for.
We'll fight for that championship round with a lot of guys in it next year, and I'm looking forward to going to the last couple rounds and just duking it out with these guys and nothing else to worry about.
Gagne is comfortable, but Josh Herrin and the rest of the Superbike field want to make it uncomfortable for the number one. But the battles continue under the blistering sun and intense heat of the capital city in Central Texas right now. It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas for our 8th of 9 for 2023. From Austin, Texas, we're at Circuit of the Americas, and the sun is shining, and it is 100 degrees as we set the stage for Medallia Superbike race number 1. Coming at you. Welcome, everybody, to the broadcast. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time national champion. Well, Jason, 9 wins so far this season for Jake Gagne, and he has been the absolute, just the master here. He's only DNF'd 1 race, not scored, and he has just been consistent. He's already wrapped up the number 1 plate.
Very consistent, and I think the thing for that attack performance Yamaha team, also when you think about it, they were under fire early this year from the Tytler's BMW team, and so they had a whole other set of things that they had to deal with. And you see this guy, he's always calm and collected and cool, and he's put it on pole here again today in a very hot Austin. It was 108 degrees here yesterday, so a little bit cooler than it was yesterday at least.
Yeah, 15 incredible podiums so far. But, Jay, with Jake Gagne having wrapped up that championship, one rider that we have to make note of is second in the championship is Josh Herrin. He has had an outstanding year.
Great year, and I think it's surprised a lot of people. I know it surprised me. This guy has come in, got on that Warhorse Ducati V4, and done a tremendous job. You see here, Greg, he's second in the standings, 236 points. He's one of 4 race winners this year, and he's been on the podium, I mean, consistently. 69% of the time this guy has found the podium. Josh Herrin's done a very, very good job this year, and he'll be a contender here again today at COTA.
Incredible podium percentage. But, Jay, as we look at Josh Herrin, the thought right now is Cameron Beaubier. He has decided not to continue on this season. Why?
Well, I think he took a couple big hits there. We saw the last time we saw him at Brainerd and then Pittsburgh, back-to-back rounds. We've seen, unfortunately for Cameron, this is going to be a Brainerd round. And remember, just the round before this at Laguna Seca, he came off with Cam Peterson. He was very lucky here, hit his head pretty good there. But this was the really scary one, as Ashton didn't have any power exiting that turn. And we saw, you know, Cameron pretty much get cut open on his forehead there, and a couple big hits to the head. Let's just regroup, as you see here on his Instagram page. But they've brought in somebody in Stefano Mesa, who we've just watched all these years coming through, been here with his mom and dad. We know the whole story, but now he's getting to ride that Cameron Beaubier Tytler's BMW. And first time here at COTA, first time on the track. He's eased his way into it. He'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure we miss Cameron Beaubier, and we're sad he's not here, but we totally understand that he's got to get his head right, and he definitely wants to do it. But the third member of our broadcast team is Hannah Lopa, and, of course, you mentioned Stefano Mesa filling in for Cameron Beaubier, and she got a chance to talk to him. Hey, Hannah.
Stefano Mesa making his Medallia Superbike debut here this weekend. Stefano, you've ridden so many different motorcycles throughout your career. You've been on a stock 1000 bike, but the Superbike is kind of a different task at hand here. What are some of the differences that you've noticed so far?
Yeah, definitely, and it's been a blast riding the Superbike so far. I don't have many laps on it, but every lap counts. You know, every lap I learn a little bit more about the bike and what it's doing, and what I gotta do to make it go fast. So it's all a learning experience, you know. And yeah, I've ridden a lot of stock stuff, and it's definitely very different. When you're in stock, you kind of think, oh, those Superbikes might be easier to ride because they have all the rider aids and all the electronics, but I'll tell you what, those things are fast and scary. So just trying to get the hang of it and keeping my eyes open, and hopefully we can find out a little bit more speed throughout the weekend.
Best of luck, Stefano. Guys.
Well, Jason, fast and scary. I love the honesty of Mesa on that one for sure. But it's all about Circuit of the Americas here. 3.4 miles, 20 corners.
Big, steep uphill into turn one that cuts back on itself, and then it goes just as steep back down, Greg, into a fast right-hand corner through that series of S's. These bikes are going to make a lot of power as they come out of turn 11. You heard Stefano say how fast they are. That's where you're going to see it down that back straightaway into, again, Greg, possibly the hardest braking that we see all year, into a very turn-tight 12, into the little stadium section there in turns 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. You're on the right-hand side of the tire all the way through that before you flick it into a little bit of a bumpy turn 19, and then a quick run to turn 20, and out of there you go. That's a lap at COTA.
And it is fast, and it is roasting hot. Matthew Skoltz has not had the smoothest of weekends. He's 9th on the grid. We'll see if he's able to gather it back up and find the podium again.
Well, you just heard Greg and Jason talking about Matthew Skoltz, and to me it's a big surprise to see where he's struggling as much as he is after being so on form last year, duking it out, especially in that second race for many laps with Danilo Petrucci. Petrucci eventually prevailing. But we had talked a little bit earlier, Roger, about, this is a lone team. Yeah, they get some help from attack, but it's just Westby and one rider. If you go down that wrong rabbit hole in these bikes, it can take a bit to recover. You think that's maybe what happened here?
Well, I think a little bit of it is they had a little issue yesterday morning, so they missed the first practice.
Right.
And just kind of put them on the back foot, and then looked like, when they put that soft tire on this morning, it just didn't, kind of not go their way again, and just kind of put them down on the grid a little bit. And for them, I think definitely unfortunate and just a little bit off. Sometimes those weekends, especially after you go back to Pittsburgh, that second race. I mean, he was really close to Jake Gagne there toward the end of the race, so you kind of thought he's going to maybe carry that momentum into this weekend, especially after last year's race here with Danilo. But that's the way it goes. He's got a long ways to go. He's going to need to get a really good start and be aggressive early, and just hopefully that he can make some moves early, get some, be aggressive that first lap.
Speaking of good starts, Richie Escalante outside of the front row, or inside, depending on how you want to line up here. Massive opportunity for him to maybe get that first ever Superbike podium. He certainly has the pace. Starts have been sort of his kryptonite, so he's going to have to work on that. And Bobby Fong starting back in 12th after being behind the 8-ball from early on. You think that wrench team has had time to figure out and get that thing dialed in?
Well, I think his big thing is all the track time he missed. He missed second qualifier yesterday, blew up this morning, and the second qualifier had the electrical problem, didn't get out with 7 minutes. So he has only really had one session, so that's going to make it hard. Really hard.
And J.D. Beach starts middle of that second row, and Mr. Fitness, is he going to be coming alive later in this race? We've seen him be super quick at the end of races before. Lots to play for here. Medallia Superbike Race 1 coming at you.
Medallia Superbike coverage is brought to you by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Medallia Superbike race number 1. On deck, a 12-lap affair as riders have left their grid positions and now they are on their warm-up lap. Boy, it would be fun to be driving that car around this thing, chasing some motorcycles, JP.
Right behind all these guys as they see the end of the S's here. Let's look at the starting grid, Greg. We got Jake Gagne at a 2:08.1. I believe that's a new lap record, is it?
It certainly is.
All right, Heron next and Escalante. Let's see if he can get his first podium. PJ Jacobson, yes, that's JD Beach right next to him. Brandon Posh starting 6th, continuing to do a fine job there. Yates, Corey Alexander, and Matthew Skoltz. Then Mesa, Gillum, and Bobby Fong outside of row number 4. Max Flinders, Gabriel Da Silva, and Danilo Lewis. A little further back, Nolan Lampkin, Giannato, and JC Camacho. Then we got Arango Davis, Zach Schumacher, Manny Segura, Justin Meest, and Zach Butler. And just back there, Jeremy Walker starting on row number 9, Greg. So we got some of our Stock 1000 riders who have been competing this year in the Superbike Cup. I think Nolan Lampkin is actually leading that particular championship. So
Superbike Cup, yeah. This is, of course, the last event for Stock 1000. All right, so outright track record for Jake Gagne. By the way, he broke the outright lap record set by, do you know who, Jason?
Yeah, I do know who, but I'm going to let you tell us.
It's our colleague Roger Hayden. He had it back in 2017 at a 2:08.184. Gagne goes .169.
2017. I mean, Raj, what a lap he threw in there.
Absolute legend.
What a lap.
Now, of course, he gets to join us on our MotoAmerica Live Plus broadcast. If you don't have that app, you definitely want to get it, where you can see practices and qualifyings and all kinds of stuff that you get extra than you get right here on the broadcast.
Always felt on days like today that it's just as hot as it is. These warmers have come off. Your tires aren't going to get cooler, so you almost feel like you got to conserve the tire a little bit, especially as long of a lap as we have here at COTA. You want to do a hard warm-up lap, and you want it to be good, but you don't want to do something to where you're just wearing the things out. And it was funny watching these riders kind of circulate there. Didn't look like anybody was on a particularly hot warm-up lap. So, little tire conservation. As you can see, the riders coming up to the line. Really tricky turn 1 here, Greg, up this steep hill. And I think over the years, the riders have gotten used to being able to go up there and finding a braking marker from a slower speed off the starting line, you know?
Yeah, of course, pole position the closest to that turn, but here at Circuit of the Americas, it's on the outside, so you get a good run up this really, really steep hill. All right, so riders are forming on the grid. What a front row we have. We have a Yamaha, a Ducati, a Suzuki, and in third place we have a BMW. The parity in Medallia Superbike, incredible. But it's all eyes on, I think, Richie Escalante, the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki rider, looking for his first podium in Medallia Superbike. But what's the number 1 plate going to do? Can Josh Herron, the number 2, disrupt it? 12 laps in this race. Revs are up, and we're going. Looked like Herron got a really good launch on the Ducati initially, but there goes Jake Gagne. He's got a half a bike length. Herron's got position, and JD Beach on the 95 trying to go up the inside, but it is going to be Gagne who sweeps around the outside, but Josh Herron will lead the way for the moment as they go down the hill.
Did you see how Gagne let off there a little bit on the inside? There's a big rolling bump there, Greg, that will literally move your bike over 4 feet. So he did a smart thing. Gagne obviously knew that and let off as they went down into turn number 2. Now they're rolling through these S's. It was a great start from JD Beach, who got pinched off just a little bit there up in that tricky turn 1. Escalante there, and you can see Matthew Skoltz has done a tremendous job coming from 9th on the grid to slot himself into 4th early on.
Liking what I'm seeing from these riders. Josh Herron has showed tremendous speed, but it's going to be who gets the drive onto the back straightaway with the draft and pass maneuver. There goes Gagne. He's trying to go up the inside of Herron. Herron trying to get that Ducati stopped, but he is way off the apex, and he's going to lose 2 positions in 1 shot, or is it just 1? It's going to be just 1, as Escalante on the 54 in 3rd place isn't able to take advantage, but Herron comes right back in the draft. He's got position up the inside because the next corner they go to is a left-hander, and Herron retakes the lead as it's all fight for the Californian.
And when you watch that, you see Herron even gave Jake a little bit of room there to do something on the outside, and Gagne was able to turn that bike back up underneath him on the exit of that corner. So Gagne now leads through this little stadium section for the first time. Escalante able to go with both of them at the moment. So really nice stuff from Richie Escalante there on the 54. You see see Schultz, PJ Jacobson, and JD Beach running back there in 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively. This is a big, long right-hander, Greg, that we spoke about earlier. This is 3 corners that you can literally take as one big, long corner. And look at how fast Gagne was through there.
It's been a number of years that Gagne has been on this Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha R1, but it's been the last couple of weeks where this team came here to Circuit of the Americas and did some testing, and they started to mess with a lot of stuff, Jason. Geometry, spring rates, all kinds of things, and they've gotten it better and better, and then they go to pit race and they keep in that direction. And Gagne says this is the best motorcycle he's had to fight with. So it's really good to do a fast lap, but in those situations we saw in lap 1 when he had to fight with Josh Herrin, Jake Gagne is saying that this is the best weapon that he's had so far on this team.
And don't you think, when you think of like how long he's been there, him going to Portugal almost around this time last year, I know the Portuguese World Superbike round is in a couple weeks. Remember, this team went there last year and they came back with a whole different thought process of what they wanted to do with this R1. As you see, Escalante now takes a stab and gets up underneath Herrin before turn 8. Herrin turns it back though, gets underneath him. This is the slowest one of the S's, and then you accelerate into a blind fast. They're going to short shift here up to 4th gear over the top brow of that hill, Greg. And it's really bumpy down through there as well, as Escalante has another look to try to come up the inside of Josh Herrin. But I really think that what Richard Stamboli and that team did is really kind of just take that R1 to a whole nother level this year, and they had to.
Looking at the run down the back straightaway and the speed of the GSX-R 1000, they've made some vast improvements on this GSX-R 1000 as the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. Of course, the M4 in that sponsorship read is they're an exhaust manufacturer, and it's been huge strides, and the partnership with M4 that has allowed this team to increase the horsepower output of this motorcycle.
You see how tight that Escalante is able to turn that bike? Look at that, Greg. He gets up underneath him in the right, and he can actually almost get up underneath Herrin in the left. Right now, that Suzuki looks as good as we've seen it look all year. And Escalante looks like he's got some pace as he's trying to work his way past the number 2 of Herrin. And he's going to have to, because now the 99 of PJ Jacobson, I mean, you're going to see him just back there. He got through on Matthew Schultz, and he's trying to catch back up to this battle for 2nd and 3rd. And you see JD Beach also trying to get by Matthew Schultz as he just gets pinched off coming into that last corner. And then you've got Brandon Posh right there behind him. Escalante wants to try to do something with Herrin, and he's going to have to do it pretty soon.
Jake Gagne out front, by the way, goes 2:08.586, fastest lap of the race, and now an outright race lap record, beating Danilo Petrucci's 2:08.648 last year in race number 1. So Gagne now sets the fastest lap for a Medallia Superbike here at Circuit of the Americas. And let me tell you, it is hot out there, and they have 12 total laps to race, Hannah, and it's hard to imagine how these riders can even think about being cool.
They do, Greg, and there's a lot of different things you see throughout the weekend, just hydrating, using different kinds of supplements that have electrolytes, Gatorade, pretty much whatever they can get their hands on. We've seen riders in pools, makeshift pools even, full of ice. But something that I think is pretty unique is the use of ice vests. So some of the different leather manufacturers actually provide ice vests to their riders. So you've seen them wearing them out on the grid. You just dunk them in some nice cold water or put them in the freezer ahead of time, and they wear it on the grid or wear it when they're walking around, just to kind of get that core body temperature down a little bit, prepare them, make them as comfortable as possible, because as soon as you zip up those leathers and put your helmet on, you know, and the heat of those bikes is definitely radiating out. So anything to really appease that heat in as many ways as possible, but the ice vest is definitely a unique go at it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah, those things really help, and what a job this guy has done. Escalante, I think this is what he needed to do, Greg. He needed to get into this stadium section ahead of the 2, because right here, that Suzuki is showing that it has a lot of edge and side grip, as you can see him just pull away ever so slightly from the 2, and it's the same thing here. Last lap, he was able to get that bike in tighter and turn it a little bit better than Herrin was on that Ducati, and then he's going to be able to take advantage of this all the way through this big long right. He needs to be able to pull just enough away from Josh to where Herrin can't do anything with him up this front straightaway, and then possibly outbrake him as they go into turn 1. Herrin does a nice job though of closing that gap back in these last couple of corners, turns 18 or 19 and 20. All the while, P.J. Jacobsen is trying to catch these guys from behind. J.D. Beach has made the path on Matthew Schultz. Now Matthew's going to have to deal with Brandon Posh this next time through. A 2:09.9 that time from Richie Escalante, a 2:09.5 from J.D. Beach. And the only other guy in the 2:09s that lap was that of Jake Gagne leading the race.
Incredible for Gagne out front, controlling the pace now 3 seconds adrift. And one thing we did know for Westby Racing's Matthew Schultz is they missed session number 1 altogether. So since we started here at Circuit of the Americas for the Westby team, they've been on their back foot the entire weekend. So these laps critical to get information to try to close the gap for tomorrow's Medallia Superbike race. Because, Jay, you have to argue and say there's only so much that Schultz can do on bike right now with not as many laps with setup. Now, it's very, very crucial here because of the length of the racetrack, 3.4 miles, to take advantage of every minute you get in practice and qualifying.
No, it's just like MotoAmerica, isn't it? It's something that you and I speak about all the time. You don't get that many laps, and so if you come sit in the pits for them to try to work on something, it takes even longer. As you can see, Josh Herron in a little bit too deep there. J.D. Beach is the man on the move in this group, though. The 95, the dirt tracker who finished his last race of the season last weekend, has put himself in a spot there, Greg, up to 5th place, and he's the fastest of the riders that you see directly in front of him at the moment.
J.D. Beach is happy to be here, doesn't really care about the heat because he's so happy to be on a road race machine again. He finished 3rd in the championship in the American Flat Track Series, and as Jason, you just said, that series wrapped up. So all the focus now for J.D. Beach is it was announced that Beach on that Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha will be contending this round and in 2 weeks' time, the final round at New Jersey Motorsports Park for this team.
And you think about what the job that J.D. Beach is doing, Greg. He's not a full-time Superbike rider, and we've seen him here in the past. We've seen him win Supersport championships. We've seen him win a Superbike race, but he's been off doing that Essence and racing thing for 3 years, and it's great that they're able to let him come and do this and kind of chase doing some road racing. But what an incredible talent. You get a little bit look at PJ. Hannah, what do you got for about J.D. Beach?
It's been 4 years for J.D. Beach since he's been here, so having that test a couple weeks ago was really crucial for him to just kind of see where things are at. He qualified 5th, and he was really excited about it compared to starting from the 4th row at Pittsburgh. They had some bike issues early Friday, so he was down some laps, but yesterday he ended up getting some longer stints this morning and felt consistent. But having a weekend on the Superbike at Pittsburgh woke up some muscles he hasn't used in a while, so he's definitely feeling much stronger this weekend, to say the least.
I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I totally bet on that one. So Jake Gagne still leads Richie Escalante by 4.2 seconds. Josh Herron right there. So if you look at Richie Escalante, Jay, one of the biggest things for the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki, the actual motorcycle itself, was the ability of Chris Ulrich to connect with Suzuki Motors Corporation in Japan. And the swing arm that's on this motorcycle right now is the same swing arm that Suzuki bikes use at the Suzuka 8-hour. They got it just before pit race, but it wasn't in time to install it pit race. So Brandon Posh, that is an unusual miscue for the 96.
Haven't seen it all year.
Nope. And so unfortunate for him, he's going to try to pick that bike up and keep going if the bike is rideable. But Posh, who's put on a great show, crashes out of 7th.
Yeah, that is a bummer. And, just going back to what you were talking about with Chris. Chris is using every resource he has and being extremely smart about how he's doing it to try to get this team to continue to evolve this GSX-R 1000. And it's really incredible when you think about what they've done on this bike, considering there's not been a new model out in years. And the effort it's taken for them as a team to continue to get that bike good is pretty good, is pretty incredible. I'm really bummed to see Brandon tip off. It looked like it was in the turn 8 area also. That bike looked like it might have been on the inside of turn 9. So Brandon Posh continues just to fall back. That's going to move Ashton Yates up and Corey Alexander up as well, 7th and 8th plot. Bobby Fong, and then Mesa back there in 10th in his Superbike debut for Tyler Cycle.
Matthew Schultz, Westby Racing, Yamaha R1. Talk about the development of that motorcycle. And they have done a tremendous amount of work. There's the GSX-R 1000, Jay. You talked about it. That bike has pretty much been unchanged since 2016, in contrast to the bike that Josh Herron's riding behind him, which is only a couple of years old. But we also know, in talking to Ducati, that this Panigale V4R has been updated since last year in its Superbike trim. and it is about, they estimate about 10% better of a motorcycle than it was last year in its debut. And then, of course, you have that brand new 2023 BMW M1000 RR, significantly different in profile if you look at the 2022 to the 2023 bike that PJ Jacobsen is on for the Tytler Cycle Racing Team. And we know that that motorcycle is an absolute missile, and is definitely a missile with the small in stature PJ Jacobsen on it. And then JD Beach, of course, on the Yamaha R1, another machine that's got a little bit long in the tooth, but with Richard Stamboli and his entire crew, they're working for the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha team. They have made this bike an absolute weapon, and that's why it's Herrin again, just struggling either with front tire or brake issues for Herrin to get that bike slowed down, and a big advantage for Escalante.
Greg, it is so hot and it is so easy. Even if as fit as these guys are, it's so easy to make a small error of judgment getting down in there, and it allowed PJ to pull up alongside of that Ducati and go past. Now, for JD Beach, he's going to have to try to make quick work of Herrin as well. The thing about what Josh does is he'll hang on. He'll do everything he can to hang on to the back of whoever is in front of him. And you know, I just started to see Escalante getting away just a tiny bit. Maybe Herrin felt like he needed to get into that corner and a little bit deeper and get out a little bit harder to try to close that gap back up. But it actually cost him just a little bit of time there.
And talking with a variety of crew chiefs for the different teams that I get to, of course, temperature of the engine or temperature of the cooling system is very vital, especially in a day that's 100 degrees here in Texas. And with the look, it's basically pretty simple, Jay. The more horsepower that's created, the more heat is generated.
That's right.
And so you have Superbike radiators and everything, but each one of these motorcycles has been struggling to keep the temperature down below the boiling point. So now, across the stripe, it's Gagne with a 4.2 second lead over Escalante. And of course, the 99 PJ Jacobsen goes into third spot, and taking over fourth into turn number 1 is going to be JD Beach.
Yeah, that's going to be a great pass for JD. You saw him just get into the back, that draft there of Herrin as they came up the front straightaway, and then just poked his nose out there to try to get by. So the 95 still on a quest to get this bike on the podium. Just to let you know, Greg, 2:10.5s are what the two guys at the front are doing. Gagne is being matched right now by Escalante's pace as well, albeit he's 4.2 up the road. 2:10.8 also for PJ Jacobsen, and then we have these two guys, 2:11.7 for Herrin, but 2:11.1 for JD. So the thing is JD Beach right now has got to continue to keep looking forward and go chase down a BMW now.
Back there in 9th place is Wrenched Motorcycles Yamaha R1's Bobby Fong. And last time he came by the stripe, it was his fastest lap of the race, also at a 2:11.6.
Also hearing now that Hayden Gillum pulled in to the pits, Greg. So I'm not sure what happened with Hayden, but we'll try to see what happened there. He's on the 69, so Hayden Gillum out. And I'm not just sure that I'm not going to say anything, but it looked like there was a little puff of smoke out of that Ducati as it was going down the back straightaway. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one also.
Oh yeah, that would be something else. So Gagne, who's just so comfortable with this motorcycle. And you know, Jason, I asked Jake Gagne earlier today when we were hanging out talking in the air conditioning. I said, Jake, at this point of your career, are there any moments where you surprise yourself? And the one thing that he commented to me, it looks like Josh Herrin maybe is faded back.
I saw smoke coming out that exhaust, Greg, down the back straightaway. So we'll keep an eye. He was right on the back of everybody here.
Yeah, we don't see him in the picture.
And he's nowhere in the shot anymore. So yeah, he's definitely not there anymore. There's Skoltz and there's Herrin. So
he's looking around.
Something's going a little awry with the Ducati.
I can see the smoke as well.
Yeah,
as he rolled off the throttle there. So again, with the amount of heat produced with these motorcycles and the high temperatures today, this is not outside the realm of possibilities. You can see the smoke bellowing now from the back end.
And he's going to take it. He'll probably have a look back and see that the thing is smoking, and yeah.
So for Josh Herrin, he can feel the power loss, I'm sure. See the temperatures on the dashboard probably flashing at him as well. So what'll happen is the black flag will come out.
The worst part is it wasn't blowing smoke out when he turned around and looked back. Now he'll see that smoke and maybe try to get the thing off the track. The last thing you want to see it do is lock up, blow up, or do something like that and put him on the ground. You can see he's got his leg out, letting the riders behind know.
So for Josh Herrin, as Jake Gagne continues to lead the way, there's 5 laps to go in this race, and it looks like, unfortunately for Josh Herrin, as he has been black flagged on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati, that it's going to be over for him. It doesn't look like there's any oil spilling on the track, Jay,
Yeah, but
it's leaking somewhere.
Something like that never gets better. It's not going to get better the more he rides it. So
smooth sailing so far for the #1 plate Gagne. 3 in a row. When I talked to Jake, as I mentioned, I asked him if he surprised himself at all. When they came here testing a few weeks ago in this heat, Gagne said they could not get out of the 210s. It was 210-0, 210-0, 210-0. So when they went 209 and he went 208 on a race tire earlier today, he said he was pretty shocked. Here's the battle for 6th place, Jason, and leading the way is Tytler's BMW rider. The 23 is Corey Alexander, your Stock 1000 champ from last year. And there's Bobby Fong, the rider that can do it all. Your
riding everything.
Super Sport champion from a couple years ago, who races a variety of classes. Also has a full-time job with Dainese. His leather sponsor is also his employer. And then right behind him is Ashton Yates. And Ashton really put in some good laps in qualifying earlier in the day today.
He's been riding great all year. Bobby Fong looking to take a shot now here. You're going to see him go up underneath Corey Alexander into turn number 19. Corey's had a pretty tumultuous, he's had a really hard last couple of rounds. You know,
he certainly has.
Oh, Bobby, did he outbrake himself, catch false neutral, or just lose power? We've already seen one of the motors expire in that wrenched R1 earlier this weekend, yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know. It might even been a transmission thing for him.
Yeah, that's like a false neutral type of thing. But for Corey, he's just had a tough run, and he's on an older BMW of the Tytler's team.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Jason, what you're looking at there is a 2021, basically, when it kind of came out. It's a 2021, 2022 BMW M1000RR Corey Alexander, and then you're looking at an older model BMW S1000RR, a bike from Scheibe Racing that goes back to around the 2016 deal, as Josh Herrin is out of that race. As you can see, he's heading back to the pits as the team takes a look at what happened to that motorcycle.
Yeah, until they look and really see exactly, they have to, it's going to be an engine replaced, I'm sure, this evening. 4 to go, Greg. And you can see here, Jake Gagne is at 4.8. It stayed about that the whole time now, and I think we've got to start talking a little bit about Richie Escalante and the job he's doing and has done all season long, and how much it would mean to him and this team to bring this bike home in the place it's in now. He's been working extremely hard, and the bike still looks extremely glued to the ground all through these little sections here. So for Richie, we know how fit he is.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing, actually, in terms of I want to look at P.J. Jacobsen and see when he applies the throttle, how much rear tire does he have left. Of course, J.D. Beach has got a bird's eye view of what's going on with that motorcycle of P.J. Jacobsen. But Jay, looking at the 2023 BMW M1000RR and going back to what I was talking about with Corey Alexander and Ashton Yates, if you see those motorcycles side by side, the 2021/2022 bike versus the 23, the aero, the bodywork, and is extremely different.
A lot different.
And what BMW says is that bodywork alone is worth 5 mile an hour faster in terms of how this 99. Now add to the fact that Corey Alexander's over 6 feet tall. He's super skinny versus P.J. Jacobsen, and there's been a speed deficit for Corey Alexander all year of a couple mile an hour at least.
Yeah, and the fact is yesterday he got about 8 laps because they had a motor blow yesterday, and they've just been fighting a lot of little problems down there in Corey Alexander's camp, and they're trying to do whatever they can to just get him through these races. So there was a new motor installed for him last night that actually wasn't new. So he's out there just kind of pedaling it around. But P.J. Jacobsen doing a good job for the Tytler's team. And J.D. Beach doing everything he can to get through. That last time by Escalante, you can see him, Greg. He had almost a second up the road from these guys. And that's really a magic marker for a rider, especially when you see 2 to go. If he can come by and see that he's got +1 on his board, that will give Escalante a big jolt of confidence as he's just starting to get away. You can see the leader, Jake Gagne, up the road ahead of him. For J.D. Beach, it's more of a question of where is he going to make this pass. It's going to be difficult for him to get too close to that BMW down the straightaways. So he's going to have to get creative with where he wants to do this.
Yeah, with just the raw talent alone of P.J. Jacobsen, plus the amazing strides the Tytler's team has made on that motorcycle and the speed of that BMW, it's definitely hard for J.D. to get there. Matthew Skultz in 5th place. After we saw the exit of Josh Herrin, Matthew Skoltz, of course, a race winner in Medallia Superbike over the years, as is J.D. Beach, who's now gotten around P.J. Jacobsen.
Yeah.
And P.J., of course, a race winner as well. Jay, we have a host of race. Jake Gagne, of course, had 38 race wins. Don't forget, in 2017, when Gagne started winning, he had
I'm looking to see
21. He
what
started.
happened here. It looks like JD just went down the inside. Almost like he just got a better drive.
Yeah.
Out of the tight left-hander, and he's able to keep that pace. PJ thought about trying to roll it back up underneath him and just wasn't close enough. Now the question is, can JD Beach?
Boy.
You can see he's got his head down. He'd love to give this team a 1-2 finish. But it's going to come with a fight for Richie Escalante. You can be guaranteed.
Yeah. So a 2:10.7 for both Escalante and Beach did it while getting through P.J. Jacobsen. I mentioned, of course, Jake Gagne. He had 17 race wins in the first year he started winning Medallia Superbike races, and only in 3 short years, Gagne is already at 38 wins total. J.D. Beach, of course, has a win from some years ago in the Medallia Superbike class. Josh Herrin has 9 wins to his credit. P.J. Jacobsen has 1. That was this year at Brainerd. Bobby Fong has 3 wins to his credit. He's back in 8th place. And of course, you've had Josh Hayes dip his toe in the class this year at 61. Cameron Beaubier, who's not here, has 59 career wins.
Matthew Skoltz is a winner.
Matthew Skoltz is a race winner. He has 5 in the class. So this is a just a massively talented field. But for a guy like J.D. Beach to have won a Medallia Superbike race, come back from, you mentioned it, Jason, American flat track racing, and J.D. mentioned it at pit race. It took his brain a little while to get up to speed.
To adjust, huh?
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I'm going to ask J.D. when I talk to him tonight or tomorrow morning about how it was to go back to American flat track after being on a Superbike at pit race and race those races.
Did you see how much he closed in there on the brakes? Did you see this is the battle for 2nd and 3rd? Looking at our split times, Escalante had 2/10 in the first that he gained. He lost those 2/10 again in Sector 2. Sector 3 times should be coming up on our screen pretty quickly, but you can definitely see 95 is not done with this yet, as the Sector 3 times now, Gagne is through 32.6, 32.3 for J.D. Beach, so he's got another 3/10 just in the last 2 splits. He's gained almost half a second on the number 54. So J.D. Beach, as he gets that bike sideways through the middle of that 16, 17, 18 complex, he's going to be in with a shout at the end of that back straightaway when they go through next time, I believe.
This is your race leader. He comes across the stripe. It's white flag, so 1 lap to go for Gagne as we rate the arrival of these two. That's 2nd and 3rd place. It's 4 seconds the gap. A 2:10.9 for Escalante to a 2:10.1 for J.D. Beach. So Beach was able to get back 0.8 of a second.
Fastest guy on the track on the night is the 95, and he's done it by quite a wide margin. 0.8 of a second quicker than the guy in front of him. 2:11.5 for Gagne up front, who's got this thing on cruise. So it's really going to be up to JD right now. See that big bump there, huh?
Yeah, it was just going over the curbing there, and I don't think he was. Riders have done that before, Jay, but not at that angle.
Well, to be honest with you, talking to the riders and even experiencing it a little bit last week, in turn 3 over the curbing, we've seen a lot of MotoGP riders and things go over it, but there's a bump now. A lot of these guys now are using the curbing in turn 4. So they're going around the 1 and 3. They're going over the curbing in turn 4. Escalante's done a good job responding here through those S's. JD Beach was not able to close in at all through the XS section. So Escalante probably got the hurry up from his team to let him realize that, hey, it's not +1 anymore. He's got a nice little gap back to JD Beach now. He's not going to be under any threat in the braking zone at the end of this straightaway.
Richie Escalante in 2nd place, looking to get his first Medallia Superbike podium on that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki with half a lap to go. JD Beach not within striking distance, looking to put his fresh and lean progressive Yamaha on the podium for the first time in a while as Escalante is getting all over the racetrack. Yeah. JD's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, that's going to be in first gear. He got the thing obviously spinning up. Did Escalante, so that bike spun up on him and wheelied. That allowed JD Beach to gain a little bit of time. This is where Richie's going to have to be absolutely perfect. As you can see, that bike starting to tie itself up a little bit now. He's going to have to be perfect through this long right-hand section because JD Beach had the rear tire lit up on the exit of this one a lap ago, but he could go down the inside if given the chance, and he doesn't do it there, but he might be able to do it here. I think Richie's got this I think Richie's
here
got
comes
this.
JD.
See if he has a go. Yep, no.
Final corner, onto the front straightaway we go. Gagne's already there. He'll come across the stripe and take his 10th win of the season. And to the line they come. JD Beach wheel in the air. A podium finish, and he's happy. But Richie Escalante and his team over the moon. And so it's going to be a pair of fresh and lean progressive Yamahas. And in the middle is going to be the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki of Richie Escalante, who finally gets it done with PJ Jacobson in 4th, Matthew Skoltz in 5th. And that long, hot race has come to a conclusion, and you can see that on the left part of your screen, Jake Gagne does what Jake Gagne does best. That first full lap, an 0.85, and then you have the 9, 9, 10, 10 to put the squeeze on the rest of the field. There was no answer. The one who had the most to say about it was Josh Herron. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish this race. As now Corey Alexander comes in 6th. A good run for Corey. Bobby Fong in 7th. Ashton Yates in 8th place. So Bobby Fong was able to rebound around Ashton Yates after that final corner incident he had. We're going to talk to Gagne about his 10th of the season when we come back to Circuit of the Americas.
Jake Gagne's 10th of the season, his 4th in a row after sweeping at Pitt. And by my recollection, that's his 39th career win. And when you think about it, when he started 2021, he had none.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, just the run that he's been on, the last couple of years has just been amazing. And, just good start today, aggressive early, finding his spots. Was dicing with Josh early in that race, found his spots and made the pass, and then put his head down and, put those laps in, and was able to break the group there and put in some steady laps from there. And then toward the end, the last 2 laps, just kind of backed it off a little bit. And, at the stripe, it says he only won by 2.5 seconds, but really it was closer to about 5. And, Jake is just incredible.
Yeah, he is. And the other thing was, when Josh was leading and when Jake got around him as they were turning into turn 13, I thought that Herron had an opportunity to just get that nose underneath there. And but I want to show you guys this. We were watching this. JD Beach absolutely flying, and
just as the last lap as he's trying to close the gap.
Right. And when he gets down to that turn 15, 16.
Look what he does on the brakes there.
Yeah.
That's where he seems like he's really strong there. Didn't get close enough to really get in the draft, but, going to get a little bit. But you'll see, how well he's tucked in. He's trying to get behind him, just get a little bit of that draft. And you'll see again on the brakes how much JD's able to close down through here. The first part of the track, Escalante was a little bit better. From this part of the track, you see on the brakes there, this is where JD was better.
Well, JD, too, coming out of 14, this is now into 13. He straight lines more than most people from 14 to 15. Richie covered it here, and that kind of eliminated the move right here. But now, watch JD as he exits that 16, 17, 18, this next big corner, right at the bottom as he's giving it everything. Looked to me like his left foot came off of that peg.
A couple times here. We'll see in the camera angle from this angle. You'll see. Look at JD's left leg. Hit the bump twice.
Twice it came up, and he just kept it pinned and got him so close. And he maybe had a shot at it here, but look at Richie turning in a little early, and that just kind of nulled it out for JD Beach. But wow, a couple of great stories. Richie Escalante's first ever podium in the class, and look at JD absolutely over the moon in his return to Superbike, and in only his second event, he's up on the box. Absolutely remarkable performance. Roger, you called it. He's super fit. You said watch for him late in the race, and man, did he deliver.
Medallia Superbike coverage is brought to you by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Look, I know you were yelling at your TV saying that Richie Escalante and JD Beach were reeling in Jake Gagne at the end of that race. There was no doubt, because for Jake Gagne, as he celebrates his victory, it was a 2.5 second margin victory. But I'm going to tell you something. Jake Gagne just kind of managed that to the end without
for
question.
sure. Yes.
So they were reeling him in, but Gagne knew what he had to do. So that's the official result, 2.5 over Richie Escalante and 2.6 over J.D. Beach. And then P.J. Jacobson able to bring it home in 4th with Schultz in 5th. Corey Alexander, Bobby Fong, and Ashton Yates. What a battle they had. And Mesa in his debut in 9th place. Let's get down to Hannah, who has our winner.
Jake Gagne with another race victory. I can't even explain to you guys how hot this motorcycle is just to be standing next to it. I can't imagine how Jake is feeling right now, but a race win nonetheless. Jake, how has the mentality kind of changed after clinching this championship, if at all?
A little bit, and no, I mean, we still just do the same thing and do our job, but it's nice to have to not think about that, you know. Yeah, what a good first lap. Me and Josh went back and forth. That was fun. I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, I think that 2nd or 3rd lap, I just put my head down and had a little bit of a break because I knew these guys, any opportunity to stuff me, they would do it for sure. I'd do the same thing. So hats off to these guys. Hats off to JD and the whole team, man. To get 2 Yamahas up here is amazing. And yeah, tough, hot race, but ready for another one tomorrow. I think everybody's going to step it up and learn a lot from today. And hats off to the fans here, all the bros coming out to hang with us, everyone from Colorado. Mikey!
With that championship clinch, were you feeling like with the battle early on in the race, you were able to take a little bit more risk than you would have if there was still the title at stake?
Yeah, I think so. You know, like I said, I knew Heron was fast, and he snuck in some good passes. I think we just went back and forth on that first lap, but it got my heart rate going. It was fun for sure. It'd been a little while, so yeah. Again, everybody's gonna be gunning for it tomorrow, so we just do our homework and go have some fun. Thanks to all the fans for sticking out in this heat. It's gnarly out here, but hopefully there's a good day of racing, good weekend of racing, and hats off to these guys for a great ride on the podium.
Congratulations, Jake Gagne. 2nd place today goes to Richie Escalante, his career first Superbike podium. It's been a while since I have said those words, and I'm sure that Richie has been looking forward to this moment and working hard toward this moment all season long. What is it that finally got you to this point?
Yeah, finally, season and a half, finish on the podium. I'm really happy. I'm working so hard. My team, Vision, William, for XR Suzuki, not stop working with me, believing in myself, and give me a little bit parts to every race, every weekend to finally feeling really good with the bike. So yeah, now I'm super happy and can't wait to race tomorrow. I try to finish another podium. Why not try to win? Today I have a little bit battle with Herring, so I lost a little bit time to pass Herring. But anyway, super happy to the entire team, Hammer, Vision, William, for Suzuki, again, all the people working with me. I'm super happy, and it's the first podium, so I want more, and see you tomorrow.
Now, Richie, toward the end there, I'm sure you could hear that J.D. Beach was closing in on you a little bit. Did that change kind of what lines you were running toward the end of that race? How did you know you'd be able to hold him off?
Yeah, for sure. In the beginning, I feel really strong, and then in the last lap, a little bit difficult. So I learning so much, just looking a little bit Gagne in the front, and also with Herring. So yeah, for sure, I have another 15 minutes, and we'll see what I can do tomorrow. But thank you.
Congratulations, Richie Escalante. Moving on down to 3rd. This is the 2nd podium that I have interviewed J.D. Beach on this year in a different series. J.D. Beach rounding out our podium. It's only your 2nd weekend back on a Superbike. What gave you the confidence to get to this point?
I mean, this team and Jake. I mean, Jake's helped me so much the last 2 weekends, and I mean, the team has worked so hard. They with how much Jake has on the line, they were doing so much for me, and it's just crazy how much they were pushing me and helping me get up there. And I mean, I just got to thank this team. I got to thank my Essenson team, too, for letting me do this. And holy crap, I mean, to get on the podium, I feel like I'm riding better than I did in 2019, which is amazing. And, man, it was so much fun. It was so hot, but we got to do it all again tomorrow.
Is there anything that you took away from this race that will help you perhaps improve upon this position tomorrow?
Well, I backed her in good going into turn 1 off the start, so I'm going to try to avoid that tomorrow and just try and get up there just a little bit more off the start, and maybe try to go with Jake. I don't know if he was getting tired at the end or maybe just dropping back, but no, I'm going to try to go with him tomorrow, and we'll see what we can do.
J.D. Beach rounding out your Medallia Superbike podium. Greg?
Yeah, J.D. Beach with shots fired across the bow on Gagne, challenging him there. I love hearing that, and that's Gagne's a really easy guy to be a teammate with. He's a good guy. Our coverage from COTA will continue after this.
There is a look at the podium where the trophies will be handed out here. And again, just an absolutely phenomenal race here, particularly for Richie Escalante and JD Beach. Like I was talking about in the early going when Herron was up front and then Gagne got around him down into, I think, 12. And it looked like Herron had an opportunity to just sort of straight line in, go in a little deep into 13 and trap Gagne. And he checked up. And, man, you let Jake get in front like that, then Jake's going to do what Jake does and just goes. What a great picture there for those two guys, both on the box here.
Yeah, and great for that team, too.
Yeah.
You know, they put in a tough spot this year with, you know, Cam Peterson getting hurt and struggling with some stuff. So to come here and get two riders on the podium and, you know, speaking of Josh, things just didn't really look right. You know, I've seen some of the guys passing pretty early on the straightaway as they got into the race, and it just seemed like something was up. So I'm sure they'll get that sorted out tomorrow. It'll be cool to see, you know, a couple more guys in that battle. But for JD to come here and, you know, get on the podium in a Superbike race and, you know, almost close down for second. You know, they took 2 laps off the, you know, from the race. It could have came in handy for him today, but worked hard. And Richie Escalante, he's been putting the work in the last year and a half. We talked a lot about, you know, getting a good start, doing the first lap, being there in practice. You know, today he's third off the line, really capitalized on that front row start and just made his life a lot easier. And it was great to see him get on that podium. And also for that team. Yeah. You know, they've been working really hard the last couple years. And, yeah, it's not a win, but right now you take those small victories and stack those up for a big one.
Well, it was first podium, too. It was a second, not a third. So, I mean, that's a nice thing. And I was kind of waiting for him in the interview when Hannah said, you know, what helped you? You know, I was waiting for him to get a start. And he launched it. But I'll tell you, the thing that's really wonderful for Richie here, down here in Texas, he's got a huge contingent, I know, of fans that have come up and are watching him here. To do this for them, you see him proudly with that flag, that's mighty special.
And I believe it's Colin Edwards up there giving out the podium there. That's pretty cool for these guys, World Superbike champ.
There's some royalty for you, handing out the trophies here. Absolutely. P.J. Jacobson, BMW right there in fourth, doing a nice job. And Matthew Scholes, man, a rocket start for Matthew, and that got him right up into play.
Yeah, a great start for him. I thought that start was going to put him, you know, in the show there a little bit because he was fourth from ninth on the grid, and sometimes Matt doesn't really get a great start, and great for him. It just, you know, I mean, this struggle, missed the session yesterday morning, and just, you know, just not having the pace this weekend. I mean, it's just they're struggling for whatever reason. So, unfortunately for him, PJ, I don't know if he ran out of grip or what, but those last 3 or 4 laps was really struggling. So, they're going to need to kind of figure out how they can continue that pace all the way to the end.
Yep, and Bobby Fong, who was absolutely nowhere in terms of track time, able to fight his way up into 7th. And tell you what, Ashton Yates, a good run. Stefano Mesa up into the top 9. Some great stories there. And Gabriel De Silva winning the Superbike Cup as well. More to come about Superbikes.
Jake Gagne holding up the first place trophy here. Medallia Superbike race number 1 at Circuit of the Americas, our penultimate round for the 2023 season. Jason Pridmore, here is race number 1 highlights, and Gagne said it was a good scrap.
Pay attention to the 95 on the very inside. That was what JD thought might have cost him. It did. It shuffled him back a little bit, but Herron got the lead. Gagne took the first shot as they went down here into turn 11. Herron runs a little bit wide, but he was able to get the drive out of there, especially on new tires, and get back up underneath Gagne as they went down that back straightaway into turn 12. So thing was that Gagne turned it back up underneath them again, and then Escalante started to move forward. This was the second attempt that he made on Herron in that turn 8-9 section, and then we saw P.J. Jacobson after a mistake from Josh in that same turn. So maybe he was having a little bit of brake problems too, was Josh, but we saw his bike start to slow down. Eventually it would retire, but JD Beach was on the move. Here you go. This is what we did not want to see for Josh Herron. That Ducati smoking, so he'll be back to fight it again another day. And then P.J. Jacobson ran a little bit wide coming out of 12, allowed for JD Beach to get underneath him, but it was his teammate up front, Jake Gagne, doing what he always does, Greg, seems to win. But Escalante and JD Beach, 2 very popular guys on the podium today.
100%, and JD said a lot of it goes to the team and to the number 1 plate of Jake Gagne. And if you've been around Gagne and the variety of teammates he has, he is such a team player. I mean, without question, as a teammate, Jake Gagne could have played in the NHL in his career.
Is that right?
As opposed to just being an amazing motorcycle racer. Our coverage rolls on from Circuit of the Americas with Medallia Superbike Race 1 in a moment.
Gear up to get fueled by Mission and get ready to eat like a king. Load those saddlebags with tasty products and fuel your flavor. Fully loaded tacos, fast wraps, piled high nachos. Whatever you crave, Mission will help you be race ready with easy to make recipes that will take your race day to the finish line. Keep your racing delicious and enjoy all the mouth-watering action. Brought to you by Mission Foods. Too fast, too tasty.
Purpose-built from the factory to perform means we did the hard stuff, so you don't have to. Trust your gut. Work hard. Ride hard. The 2023 Indian Sport Chief. Performance is given. Respect is earned.
I'm at the swing joint telling people that Geico has been offering savings for over 85 years. That's longer than the Buffalo Wing's been around.
Dozen wings.
And did you know that Geico offers motorcycle insurance? Oh, my lips are burning. No, my lips are actually burning.
Geico. Over 85 years of savings and service. See how much you could save at geico.com.
It's too hot. This is too hot, mate.
Welcome back, everybody, to Circuit of the Americas as we're wrapping up coverage here of the first of the two Medallia Superbike races, all part and parcel of the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas. And, one of the things I just wanted to also comment on here, that podium, not only is it three mighty talented gladiators, but three totally class guys. It just good people, every one of them, and that just makes it all the more special here. And got to be thrilled with what we just saw, and it certainly plays into tomorrow. It's supposed to be a chunk cooler, and everybody's going to welcome that. And you heard Jake say everybody's learning stuff here, and as the temperature cools, we'll see whether anybody else can step up and take it to them, and what's going to happen here. I think like guys like Bobby Fong, this race was huge for them. Now they can go back tonight and really start to try and dial in the setup on that wrench Superbike.
Yeah, and really for Bobby, this was his second practice.
Yeah,
He missed the qualifier and then actually both of them basically. So for him, and even was up a spot and made that mistake. And, looked like he had a problem and caught a neutral there headed into the last corner. So for him, that's going to be huge. All the other guys now, they kind of got to get behind Jake, see what he's doing, see where he was losing the most time, and go to work with their crews. But, the honest answer is they still have a lot of work to do, and Jake is just, he's just so steady, and he's going to make improvements as well. I mean, they came here testing 3 weeks ago through a bunch of setup changes at the bike. They've been winning so many races. None of these teams are ever satisfied, ever.
Yeah, and of course, Jake's pace, it's one thing to have one lap pace, but Jake's pace throughout an event is relentless. It's the only way to put it, and that obviously plays a big level into all of his success.
Beautiful overhead shots of Circuit of the Americas, or COTA as we know it. There's the tower, which looms large over the racetrack, a spectacular viewing spot as Medallia Superbike race number 1 is over with Jake Gagne the winner. And of course, we know he's the number 1 plate, but there is a battle going on for second place between Herron and PJ Jacobson, but Josh Herron has got a few points on PJ. Cameron Beaubier, of course, out for the season. Matthew Stoltz, and Richie Escalante gets a whole heap of points. He gets 20 for his second place finish. Corey Alexander, Hayden Gillum, who had to retire in this race, and of course Cameron Peterson is out. Good news is we're staying right here at Circuit of the Americas for Medallia Superbike race number 2 tomorrow. Same time, same back channel. Can Jake Gagne get it done again, or is this field gonna close the gap and give him all kinds of fits? For Handle Open, Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you at COTA tomorrow.